So thank you guys all so much for having me today. This is my nonprofit, Screen New Jersey. It has the explicit aim of getting legislation passed in our state of New Jersey that would mandate age verification measures for adult pornographic websites so that children could no longer so easily gain access to them. Right now, thank you. Yes, there are no age verification, thank you. Right now, there are no age verification measures on these sites whatsoever. You simply just click, yes, I'm 18, and you're granted access to it. And obviously, a lot of kids do this. And the average age now of exposure is 11 years old. That's the average age. So that means that there are 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds being exposed to this stuff. I was exposed around this age, at the age of 12. My cohort, we were part of the first wave of kids that had access to high-speed internet pornography when we were going through puberty, and it absolutely devastated my whole generation. And really not much has changed. When I talk to my little cousins who, you know, they're 17, but they grew up through this age, they said the same thing that I experienced. They didn't know a single guy that wasn't addicted to it. And it's not just a guy's problem. If we go to the next slide. Girls are also suffering from this, so it's over 90% of men, roughly 60 to 70% of women. I know those are shocking stats, young women, and this is because some of the stats won't factor in the fact that women have a greater propensity to consume pornographic literature, things like 50 Shades of Grey, which took this country by storm. But you know, these are the types of stats that we're dealing with, and the effects couldn't be any worse. So we'll go to the next slide. This comes from a nonprofit called Fight the New Drug. They have a catalog of studies that have been conducted on the effects of pornography on people's brains, from deteriorating brain function to poor mental health, relationship struggles. I mean, it's incredible. 45 studies for deteriorating brain health, 29 studies for poor mental health. I mean, the list goes on. We'll go to the next slide. This is a person who actually, I don't think she realized what she was doing when she gave her testimony on the Howard Stern show about how much pornography had devastated her life. Billie Eilish is a very famous pop singer these days. When she was 11 years old, also got addicted to hardcore internet pornography, and she opened up how it devastated her life, and it actually is what inspired the woman Lori Schlegel, who I'll talk about in a few slides, to pass this bill originally in the state of Louisiana. If we'll go to the next slide. Billie Eilish, she talks about how watching pornography created body image disorders for her, and it not only creates body image disorders for women, but also obviously for men in terms of how they think their body parts are supposed to look. And you know, it's a devastating thing to think that we could be convinced that anything could enhance the sexual act between two people other than the fact of how much they love each other and how much of each one of them loves God. These are the only two things that enhance sexual encounter. To think that you know, our body parts are what truly matters in these things is a very sad thing that's devastating our country. We'll go to the next slide there. She also talks about in it how it led to her being a victim of some sexual abuse. There's research that's highlighted right here that women who are addicted to pornography are actually much more likely to be victims of sexual abuse because it normalizes sexual abusive behavior to them. They think that that's what they're supposed to be attracted to. I would encourage you all, if you have some free time, to watch that video of her testimony. And next slide from there. So this is the question I pose to people, right? We verify age everywhere else in society. Casinos for gambling, bars for drinking, dispensaries for marijuana, gas stations for nicotine. Next slide. Why would we not verify age for pornography, which is far more damaging to a child than alcohol, marijuana, or nicotine? Far more damaging. It's not even close. Take it from a guy who was addicted to pornography and how much it devastated my life. We even do it for sexual exposure, right? So we acknowledge this stuff is terrible for the health of children. When we verify ID when somebody goes into an adult bookstore, when we go to strip clubs, right? A lot of these things you have to be 21 to gain access to, but we can't verify if somebody's 18 to gain access to these sites. That is far more graphic than anything a kid is gonna see in a strip club or in a rated R movie where they might see some breast flashes across the screen. It's truly ridiculous and it's completely inconsistent. We'll go to the next slide from there. And so this is the other thing that truly boggles my mind, right? It is illegal to show a minor pornography. So why should it be any different with these companies that are all run by adults be allowed to operate knowing full well that a very large contingent of their user base are children? They know full well, and they're the ones that are opposing this legislation being passed at the state level. Go to the next slide from there. So this is the woman that I mentioned, Lori Schlegel, who passed the bill originally in the state of Louisiana. She was inspired by what she saw from Billie Eilish, and she was just impressed by her courage to say what she said. And she proposed this bill to verify age at the state level, and it sailed through the Louisiana House, right? 96 to 1 in the Senate and 34 to 0 in, 94 to 1 in the House, 34 to 0 in the Senate. So, and every other state that's passing, it's been similar numbers. I mean, really, who would want it on their voting record that they voted against this legislation, right? So we'll go to the next slide from there. So these are all news clippings, okay? Louisiana passes House bill to, verify age for porn websites. Mississippi, porno, and you'll see this is from PBS, Associated Press. But just by a show of hands, how many of you knew that this legislation got passed in all these states until now? Okay, so we've got like one hands. Okay, so even though they're technically upon this, they are not actually putting this front page on the news clippings. So the way that this issue has been combated the best has been through a complete media blackout on the issue. Okay, we all know when marijuana was being legalized in Colorado, Washington, you knew for months leading up to it that this legislation was coming through. Because yeah, we need to smoke more weed, right? That's gonna be good for our country. But then legislation like this that would protect our children from filthy content, right? Nobody knows about. We have probably over 100 people in this room, not a single hand goes up. I've spoken to thousands of people, multiple congregations about this issue, not a single hand goes up. This is how this is being fought, is through a complete media blackout. And so the only way that we can combat this is through brave men like Pastor Matt to give me the opportunity to speak to an entire congregation. You have no idea how lucky you are to have a man like this as your pastor. There are very few men that will give me an opportunity to speak about a controversial topic like this on a stage like this. So I commend you, Matt. Thank you so much. Now, you might have said to yourself, oh, Cole, that those are all conservative states. Yeah, well, it passed in a couple purple states, right? Virginia, North Carolina. And if you want to go even more liberal than that, next slide, right? The EU passed legislation to mandate age verification on some of these pornographic websites. So I'm convinced that if we all work together, we can get it brought to a blue state like New Jersey. Okay, this is a map, I hope you guys can see that, so the ones in blue there, those are all states that have passed this legislation. 17 states now, since January 1st of 2023, okay? It's sweeping across our nation. Okay, and we need it brought here to our state of New Jersey, okay? This is massively popular legislation. 83% of Americans agree it should already be this way. There should be age verifications on these sites. So it's not a right-wing or left-wing issue. When I talk to people, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on, nobody thinks that this is okay. So I see this legislation as the low-hanging fruit that we can all grasp onto to make our country better in a tangible way. The other issues, abortion, immigration, gun control, I'm not saying these are important issues, but we're on gridlock on them, right? Let's start with something like this that we know we can make a difference on. Okay, this is what we need to do. So these are the two women that need to put it up for a vote. Senator Nellie Poe needs to put it up for a vote in the Senate, and Shaniqua Spite in the Assembly. The bill is now introduced as A4164, okay? And it's been rolled over for 4 years now because nobody knows about this legislation, so nobody knows that they should be advocating for it. And all these women are feeling, on the one end, are from powerful politicians who are trying to push them away from putting up for a vote, and organizations like the ACLU, but they're not feeling any pressure from us, the people, okay? And that's what we need to do. So I encourage you guys to go to my website. There's a How You Can Help tab where their emails are listed, and I have an email already written out that you can copy paste in there, and it will send to them right away. The more contacts we can give these people, the better. This is a website on the home video on the homepage of my websites that it's only 2 minutes long. I think it does a really good job of covering the problem at hand and the proposed piece of legislation. If you can share that on social media or with friends or family via text message, that's a great way to get the word out. And also, if you know other people who are members of other parishes and other places in New Jersey, and if you can connect me with them so I can get more speaking opportunities like this, that is my hope. That is my only prayer to God, is that I can just simply go from one speaking opportunity to the next and get the entire Christian base of this state on board with this thing, because we're going to be the ones leading the way on this issue, because we know that it's not just mentally what it's doing to our children, it's spiritually what it's doing to them. Okay, 1 Corinthians lists a litany of things, right, that can lead a person to hell. It says at the end, will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. And like half of them are sexual sins. What do we think this is going to do to the salvation of our children if we allow them to get preyed on by these companies in their most formative years? Okay, so I encourage you to visit my website, screennewjersey.org, right there underlined in blue. I will have a table set up outside with the chairs, as you saw walking in. So the people that want to hear more about this issue have an opportunity to ask me questions about it and what you can do to protect your children. And then also how you guys can dialogue back and forth with me and figure out how you can help me in terms of people you could connect me with that could get me more speaking opportunities, or politicians you might have connections with, or just people of influence, people that can volunteer skills. I really need help with social media. That's a big one. I do not naturally use social media. I just haven't from a young age. So if you know anybody, or if you have a daughter, son, or whatnot who's savvy with it, I could really use that help. I'm willing to pay them money to work for me on Fridays. I decided to take the day off from my job to focus on just working on getting online presence about this out there. So, these are the things I need help with. But I please encourage you all to meet with me out there if you feel called to help on this issue. And thank you guys so much again for your time and attention today. Okay.